Glasses broke and I can't see otherwise. Okay, so, or I might be looking off to the side. Maybe I'll turn the camera off, but I don't know how to do that. Okay. What we're going to cover today is who we are at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'm Dr. Aaron Payment. I am a tribal council member for my tribe, and I'm also the tribal fellow for Tribal Nation Fellow for the National Center. I'll go back and forth between saying National Center, NITMIC, and the whole name out. So I want to talk about the National Center Tribal Nations Fellows Project, a little bit of data on MMIP, and some missing data challenge that we have, and then some of the free resources available through the National Center. And then I want to show you just graphically through a flow chart what happens when a child goes missing and how you engage the National Center and what we do at different points and junctures. Share a little bit about alerts and missing children activation. And then a little bit, this is really, I think, what captures attention of tribes is the MMIP tribal community response plans and how NITMIC can play a core component in your when you have a missing child and how we can reduce the response time and increase the chances of rescue rather than recovery. And then a little bit more about the point of contact inventory, and then a couple of questions about how to most effectively reach the Navajo community. You guys are huge, and I know if you're still structured under chapters, but and vast territory across at least 4 states, and then with your people living all over the country. So just some guidance, requests for guidance, and then also some offer of assistance on the tribal community response plans as you requested. Okay, who we are. We were born out of purpose. We are a nonprofit, non-governmental organization. NIMBIC is the largest national, most influential organization to help protect and rescue and recover our children. And we lead the fight to protect children, creating a vital resources for them and the people who keep them safe. So every child deserves a safe childhood. And if you know about John Walsh and his wife had their child abducted in the early 1980s. And unfortunately, their child was not rescued. He was recovered. And their tragedy led to this inspirational reach out for everybody to help everybody if their child goes missing. So at NITMIC, we find missing children. We reduce child sexual exploitation, and then we prevent future victimization. And I'm going to talk through how we do that. Hope is why we are here. Okay, so this is the public law, PL 117-348, that requires that if a child goes missing, states collect information, but also parents can engage. And we began to try to collect, or law enforcement tries to collect a photo of the missing or abducted child, a description of the child's physical features such as height, weight, sex, ethnicity, race, hair color, eye color, and then any endangerments, like if the child is pregnant or if they have autism or some medical condition, if they have suicidal tendencies. And one thing that's not collected currently, and this is one of my campaigns I'm on, is we don't collect tribal affiliation. And you're going to see with some of the missing data how that shows up and how tribes are not fully engaged or reached out to because the data is just not typically collected. Okay, so NITMIC I understands that we are individual tribal sovereign nations and that we have a unique government-to-government relationship with the federal government, and then by extension, in some cases, through states. And then we have all kinds of jurisdictional challenges, whether you're PL 280 or if you're on res, off res, in your ceded treaty territory. There's all kinds of jurisdictional challenges that makes this work more complex. But because of that, they established the Tribal Fellows Program. Our first fellow, so we're in the 5th year, our first fellow served 1 year, and that was Mark Pooley, who is Navajo and Hopi, and he has a law enforcement background. And then our second was Melissa McGee, who is Choctaw from Oklahoma, and she had a child welfare background, and she continues to be a consultant. And And I said that her background was child welfare. Oh, and she served for 2 years. So they really liked the work she was doing, so they extended her another year. And then I'm the third fellow, and I did last year, 2025, and they extended me another year because we're in the middle of some really important projects that we want to finish up. Okay, you can see from this map there are 575 tribes, and I added Lumbee because they were recently recognized. And then and then you can see Dene. This is primarily Dene country, but obviously there are many more that live outside of that territory, but a large concentration do live within the four corners. Okay, so some of the free resources that are provided through NITMIC is the Tribal Fellowship and um, the internal tribal native advisors. Any native team members that work at NITMIC do end up serving kind of an advisory role because of their expertise with their respective tribes or their law enforcement backgrounds. And so we maximize our value by incorporating any input that they have. Also, we provide multimedia alerts and missing child posters. You're seeing a lot on the news right now, and I think rightfully so, of the reporter's mother that's missing. We don't get that kind of coverage when a brown person goes missing. And so we can help to elevate the media alerts to make sure that we're not ignored when one of our children goes missing. Initial reporting and intake and carrying case management, I'm going to walk through what that looks like. Investigative checklists and local logistical support. Advanced forensics. This is where I get a little geeky about all the really cool things that we can bring to bear that most law enforcement, tribal or non-tribal, simply doesn't have the resources, but we make those available free of charge. And then Team Adam is law enforcement officers who typically are retired and have a lot left to give. So they're the most seasoned and polished out there that then work as consultants under Team Adam, and they can be called in and dispatched out to the community. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we also help to elevate as a secondary link to Amber Alerts. We have behavioral health supports that I think are very humanistic and trauma informed. And then we have Hope Supports, which is a support group that will reach out and assist survivors, the family members of survivors, and to make sure that they don't lose hope because we never give up hope. And then age appropriate curriculum, extensive. We have Kid Smarts for littles, and then we have Net Smarts for teenagers. And it's really important because you got to know how to have the conversation with them rather than just shy away from it because you feel uncomfortable. I know that's my case because I'm raising a 12-year-old. Okay, so my focus as Tribal Fellow has been to attend national convenings to present what we have available to help with your missing children and to incorporate what we have available with your tribal community response plans. Um, I'm working on building a tribal point of contact roster, which is we have surveyed all of the tribes across the country to try to get them to fill out this point of contact roster, which collects basic contact information from them so that we can deliver targeted webinars to them rather than you have to come look for it or to dig around for it. And also we know, I mean, I know that this information isn't relevant until you have somebody that's missing. And then when you do have somebody that's missing, then you are overwhelmed. So we want to be able to know the points of contact so that we can bring targeted information in terms of training and webinars to make it easier to digest all this information. So, okay, click. Okay, why isn't it clicking? Wait, let me try this. Okay, there we go. This is our tribal point of contact. You'll get a copy of this so you don't have to do it now, but if you want to, you want to lift your phone to the QR code. This is collecting information from each tribe about who, your elected leadership is. We do have that information from the Department of Interior list, but then also your tribal law enforcement, your child welfare services, your victim services or MMIP if they're collapsed together, and any additional departments that you think might be helpful. Education is really turning out to be another department that we want to push the curriculum out through for young people. And young people are actually, youth councils are really kind of taking the leadership to help share peer-related information to keep each other safe. So we really appreciate that. Okay, so I want to talk about some MMIP data. the crisis and data complexities. Okay, so we're going to go through these really quick. Human trafficking is up 25%, including a 31% increase in child trafficking since 2019, and 59% of all missing children are persons of color. So as we know it, the data, nearly 360,000 children go missing, according to NCIC, about 1,000 a day. According to the BIA, 4,200 MMIP cases have gone unresolved. In 2023, HHS Office of Inspector General reported that states did not always report children missing from foster care to NITMIC in a timely manner as required by law. This is a child welfare issue, and I'm going to emphasize that in another statistic. Only 33% of the cases were reported timely, which means 67% were not reported timely. And that's concerning because time is of essence when you have missing children and missing persons. So with 92.4% of missing children as endangered runaways, that surprised me too. 74.4% go missing from care. As you guys know, the story of Emily Pike. Emily Pike was in care under the state. She went missing. She was endangered already. She went missing, and then they rescued her, and then she went missing again. So of concern is when our children are placed in external placements to the tribe, that they are safe. But you can see that a large number go missing from care. So it becomes an ICWA concern. Okay, so data again, as we know it, 59% of all missing children are persons of color. The American Association of Pediatrics estimates that 1 in 20 youth run away from home annually. That's 2.3 million children. That's a lot. 3.5% of missing persons were identified as American Indian Alaska Native, while we are just 1.3% of the population. So we are way overrepresented in missing persons by 2.7. A missing child is propositioned or exploited sexually within 2 to 48 hours of going missing, so time is critical. And then NITMIC reports that 1 in 7 children will be sexploited. So that's a lot, 1 in 7. Okay, so collecting, I testified at OVW to try to emphasize the need for better data collection. And it was very, very frustrating trying to collect information to get us a baseline understanding. And there was in 2005 a requirement in VAWA to start collecting data, and there was a false start. And as of now, that effort was kind of abandoned. The original effort was abandoned, the study was, and now they're trying to figure out how to move forward. And so I'm pushing for a census approach. But some data I was able to find from the Congressional Research Service from 2023 was of 820 cases of missing natives. 31% were female, 69% male. That's very different than what I would have thought. And then 25% had known tribal affiliation, which means 75%, they believed them to be American Indian, but they did not have their tribal affiliation. And that's, again, a missing data issue because we're not collecting that information. 19% went missing from tribal lands, and then only 10% had residence on tribal lands. So the vast majority of our people who go missing from off the reservation. And then of that 820, 112 were young people under 18, and that was 14% of them. And then 54% were female and 46% were male. That percentage seems a little more aligned with what I would have thought. So we have a major missing data problem. And, when you're trying to fix a problem, one of the first questions statistically is what's your baseline? And currently we just don't have a good baseline. So now what I want to talk about is emerging trends. This is work that we do at NITMIC and have different workshops to kind of update us on what we know in terms of the trends. And this is very alarming. So be prepared because it's pretty alarming. So, and I would sublabel this the online portal to sexual exploitation. In 2015, in a survey reported that 73% of teens said that they had access to a smartphone. This rose up to 95% in 2023. Use of Snapchat increased from 41% to 60%. 63% of teens said that they use TikTok, with 59% saying they use it at least once a day. 47% used Instagram at least once a day, and 51% said that they use Snapchat at least once a day. So our children are vulnerable, and perpetrators have access and they're utilizing it. 46% of the teens said that they had experienced cyberbullying. Internet was the location for 65% of the victim recruitment. Through 2024, reports to NITMIC of online enticement increased by 456,000, or 300% increase from 2021 to 2023. 59% of online enticement was with those 15 years or younger. 26% of participants stated the trafficker exploited them through their own personal social media accounts. NITMIC reported 12% increase in cyber tip line reports from 2023 to 2024. So it's huge. They have access. Okay, so here's our flow. When you have a missing child, you as the parent or law enforcement calls the 1-800 the loss. We also have like links on our website, but the easiest is to call 1-800 the loss. And you report it. And then what we do is we assign somebody from our call center. We'll get the call. They are trained to be able to talk to people in traumatic situations and collect as much information, but not overly burden the person at the time. We need critical information, especially that's time-bound information. They collect as much information as they can, and then they assign a case manager. And case managers are very strongly trained in behavioral health and trauma informed. And so they further collect information in a non-emergent sort of sense, less emergent than the initial call. So they try to collect as much information as they can that can help triangulate and support the investigation. Okay, and then we activate all of the resources that are available at NITMIC, and that includes creating online posters. I'm going to walk through what that looks like in a sec. Engaging Team Adam. Again, Team Adam we're going to go through, but you request and we dispense Team Adam team members to your community with no cost to yourself, and then they help coordinate information, analytical services, family assistance, and really try to bring to bear whatever resources might be needed. So, okay, here is our poster system. So when somebody goes missing, getting the word out and getting a poster out that has a picture, some basic vitals of that person, like their height, their weight, what they might have been wearing, where they were last seen. So we collect that basic information. We have a portal online, or you can call. You can call and you can give that information over the phone. So we want it not to be cold and sterile. But here's the QR code to find a link to the starting page for developing a poster. We have partnerships with all kinds of social media, which is really cool. Politics gets set aside. We're not partisan again. And social media has been really good about putting out and sharing the posters. And in addition, some innovative areas which I think is really cool, is gas stations. Those gas stations that have a little bit of news when you're pumping your tank. If you're abducting a child, if you're traveling by car, you're going to stop for gas eventually. And if you have that child with you, there's a chance somebody might see something, say something. But we really try to push out the information from our poster distribution. We also have a crackerjack team of media experts, and we will reach out. Like if you live in a community where they don't have their own TV station, or they might have a radio station and they need some assistance in writing press releases, we will work with the family, law enforcement, local community, and do it appropriately, because there's sometimes you have to be careful about when you're releasing information. But the phenomena of brown-skinned people or Native people not getting equal coverage, we can ameliorate some of that by the professional media experts that will reach out and try to engage local media to get the word out. Okay, we also will assist with secondary distribution of Amber Alerts. And as I'm finding, there's all kinds of additional alert systems like the turquoise alert, feather alert, We help disseminate and push that information out, and we do work closely with Fox Valley and the people that work on Amber Alert. And there's a lot more work to do here in communities that are very rural to help make sure that we can get the word out. So we're trying to figure out how best to do that. Team Adam, again, I've been bragging about them. They're mostly retired officers that have a lot left to give in their careers, that are experts in their field, that are dedicated to come out of retirement to help find missing children. So so what happens is, like, when law enforcement reaches out to us, we will then reach back to them and we will identify somebody to be dispatched to their community. They help with critical incident command systems. They support information. They don't take over the investigation, but they support. And they also will do an assessment of what forensics that might be needed, and then they will bring those resources to bear. Most law enforcement, whether you're a tribe or even like cities, just don't have the breadth of forensics and technical assistance that we make available, and we will find it. If we don't have it immediately, we will find it and dispatch those experts that can assist local law enforcement with their investigation. And then we also have long team care assistance and support. Um, these are our federal liaisons, just some of them that we collaborate with, and several of these have offices right in our headquarters so that we make sure that we maintain ongoing open communication with different federal agencies that can assist with basically making sure there's a wide dragnet of when somebody goes missing so we can increase our chances of rescue and recovery. So we also do forensic imaging. This part I think is really cool because I'm an artist and a scientist, and I've watched how they do this. They use existing photos of children. They coordinate by using pictures of relatives. They do age progression using both science and art, and they then project what that person might look like through age progression. And it's pretty accurate. And it's helped to save some children that went missing like when they were like 4 or 5, and then now they're teenagers, by being able to have a pretty close estimate of what they would look like, and that helps to be able to locate them, years after they've been missing. So I really think that's cool. And then the forensic science gets me all geeked up, but these are some of the tools that we can make available. Genome sequencing, pollen and soil analysis that's helped rescue children that were 3 states away from where they went missing. Phenotype typing, DNA testing, rapid DNA, just all of this science that we can make available that most law enforcement is just not going to have. And we have partnerships with all of these different labs to help interpret what that data means when we collect it. All of that to help increase the chances that you can locate a missing child. Okay, so next up, I'm going to cover tribal community response plans. My tribe was one of the 6 in the country that was picked to be a pilot in 2020. We spent over a year and a half, almost 2 years, articulating what our plan would look like. We collaborated across departments. And so you might ask, what is a tribal community response plan? It's a plan for how tribal communities will respond to a report of a missing person. It's developed by the tribes in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney's Office, but the tribes are in the driver's seat. It's tailored to meet the needs and resources of the culture and of the local community. So it's for us, by us, and also establish a plan for tribal communities to collectively use our resources in emergent cases, multidisciplinary approach, and integrates community-based organizations in the overall response. So it's all hands on board, on deck. And my tribe, when we did our plan, we coordinated across law enforcement, victim services, the media. The media plays a critical role, but they have to play an informed role because releasing information too early during an investigation could compromise an investigation. But there certainly is a time when their information can be very valuable. And then community outreach. The community feels helpless when one of our children goes missing. And if we can engage the community with searches and just, pulling local support. So our plan incorporates each of these main domains. And then here is a link to my tribe's tribal community response plan, no, my email, so you can request a copy and our investigative checklist, and then also Bay Mills Indian Community. We did our MMIP tribal community response plan together with them, so they have a copy of theirs. You can just click on it and get a copy. You will get a copy of this PowerPoint. But also, here's just some articles and information when our plan was published. Our plan was released in 2021. And if you have not developed your program, or even if you developed it, but you want to tweak it, improve it, um, I can make mine available. And if there's anything of value you want, you're welcome to it. And then, so, in just a second, if we can open up for conversation about what's the best way for us to reach out to your community, and if there's any large gatherings that we could do presentations to. One thing that really goes over well when you have a larger audience, especially if you have young people or if you have people that work in your education division, is our Kid Smarts and our Net Smarts. It's curriculum that's tested curriculum. We will work with your tribe to help acculturate that curriculum too, so that it's relevant to your respective tribe, including helping to uh, infuse language in any of that work. So then if you have recommendations who trusted advisors could be that we should collaborate with, I know that we're working with the nation, principally with the nation. I was grateful to meet your vice president at the OVW consultation, and she was pretty excited about having us come out to do a presentation, and we're all in. Going out there in the wintertime is nice too, because I'm a very wintry territory, so we would like to come out there when it's warm. Not when it's too hot though, because I have an extra layer of Ojibwe fat. I don't want to be there when it's too hot. And so if you have any questions, I share this slide because this is my niece. When she grew up with us, my sister adopted her. She was my brother's daughter, and he died when he was 30. So we raised her, and she's our little powwow baby. But she's 25 now. She went missing for 3 years. She was in a bad relationship, a domineering relationship. He was not allowing her to communicate with us. We didn't know if she was alive even. But the good news is she got pregnant and came home for the supports that we have. And then she came out of the fog and left this guy. And now she is working on her bachelor's degree in nursing and dual study in criminal justice and forensics. So I think she's going to end up being one of our MMIP investigators. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then with that, if you have any questions, and there's my contact information. And I don't know, I didn't keep track, but I do think I have a little bit of time left. So if you have questions, I am available for questions. And you can take a picture of this contact information, or you will get a copy of it. And then one more slide, just to remind you to please go ahead and scan this and send this out to your respective departments to urge them to send this is an inventory that takes about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. We're asking questions like, how could we best serve you? What's the most valuable way that we can help your tribal nation? And then having the points of contact for your law enforcement, education, victim services, MMIP, and ICWA, and any other department that you think we should be in touch with. And that's my presentation. I talk really, really fast.
Thank you for that, Aaron. I can see a lot of people in the chat who are just really thankful for this information that you shared with us. It's really important that we understand how the federal government and tribal nations can work together when it comes to protecting our children. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor for any questions. Do we have any questions right now, team? If you want, you can raise your hand and we'll go down the list.
Cool. I see some of the recommendations that you dropped in and some of your points of contact. I appreciate that. And I'll add those to my list.
Hi, Aaron. Yate. My name is Delvina.
Hi, Davina.
Nice to meet you. I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing and the services you're providing today. It is a huge, an impact on our community, especially on Indigenous nations across America, that this resource is very lacking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, especially when, like you said, the numbers that you provided, we make up such a high numbers of missing people when we are such a small population.
That's right.
So, that to me is really, it shows that we are a target. One, two, we are known to be very vulnerable. And three, they know we lack the resources to respond. The silence is there. And I just want to say thank you for everything your team has been doing. I've heard and I've seen, a lot of information that you just literally provided and went through it. And I'm really astonished by it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, by the way. Great teamwork, great. And I would love for that to be duplicated, not just, through Navajo Nation, but other tribes. I've heard from other tribes as well that they don't have an MMIP, or they don't even know MMIW. They don't know what it means. So that's really a heartbreaking thing to know that other nations as well, it's not taken serious or it's not noticed among them. Our attention is always put to certain areas until it becomes personal,
Yep.
which, we don't want at this point. I'm a mother myself, and I do not definitely want to, I pray that our numbers continue to reduce. We bring healing before and after care is one thing I'm looking into to help, with the numbers, is that how do we bring these numbers down and how do we reduce them and how do we keep them down is where we're at, just like the prison system. We make up 70% of the population in the prison system as Native Americans.
Yep.
So our children as well in the CPS system make up a high percentage of the children in the CPS system are Native American children. So we have a lot of, areas that, MMIW as a supporter myself, that I continue to advocate for, human rights, for civil rights, down to right now with ICE. We know the ripple effects of how it can affect our communities. And this is a perfect example right here. If we continue to be silent and we don't do nothing, they're going to continue to target us like they do today, especially number wise, especially since the 1930s, except when the Rocker family became a huge part of the pharmaceutical world, a huge part of our law systems. So today, here we are with these numbers again, targeting a population that they did do as well. So I just want to applaud you for everything you're doing. Thank you. And I would be more than happy to collaborate as well. I do run a volunteer page here for the Navajo Nation, providing emergency information down to road conditions, down to missing people, or just collaborating people to help each other to get by through the community. That's what we're here, and I'm thankful for our council delegate, Amber Crotty. She's here. She's the one that actually helped put this task force together. So I'm very honored to be, we are the largest tribe with the largest reservation. So we set a huge example for all of our tribal nations throughout this country to bringing this type of, answers and solutions and showing that we are doing something. So I really do my part and best to, be supportive and involved in keeping this a healthy, safe area, a safe place, safe space for us to continue to share resources, information, stories, and helping each other, knowing that Navajo Nation is not the only place that struggles with this. We have our relatives in Canada. We have our relatives down in South America, into Mexico, Brazil, that are struggling with these same type of numbers as well. So I just want to say thank you for providing this information and giving a sense of hope. That I'm very grateful that you did say that too. I'll provide my email in here, and we do have an amazing team in here, different people in this in this call right now that do provide for the Navajo Nation, that I hope you get to collaborate with and work with, and just want to say thank you. One part of a quick question I had is that with the Missing Children's Network, is that?
It's so we're the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. Okay. Have you worked with the Arizona the Arizona Missing Task Force, the Arizona Children's Missing Task Force. I believe her name is Amy.
If you could text it in, because I'll have to check. I'm guessing that we probably have because our first fellow was Mark Pooley, who was Navajo Hopi. But I don't know where he was from, because I know just saying you're Navajo, if you're Navajo but you're from Oregon or someplace else. But I have a feeling we probably have. But that's one thing that I'm trying to get my wrestle around is all of the networks and connecting the networks. So
Mhm.
I have not personally connected with them myself, although we do work with the Fox Valley and the Amber Alert systems. We do collaborate with them pretty closely. But yeah, drop it in so then I can do follow-up.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So we do, from what I've seen over the years of being, following missing people, our missing pages, we do have that page here in Arizona that's pretty active and that does provide the most updated missing people information that I would recommend collaborating with. We
Yes.
do have a Navajo Nation missing. Um, a missing person in the Navajo Nation Police Department that does have a website page as well that just sends that's where I usually get my information and data to help share as well. And then just, of course, also local grassroots as well throughout the whole country. And then some who actually do go global on other platforms. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I just want to give you applaud and I'm just pretty mind blown by what you guys provided. Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, thank you, and I'm inspired by the all of the connections that you guys already have. Do you guys have a tribal community response plan? Is it done? Is it in the process? MMIP Tribal Community Response Plan.
A tribal community response plan, I believe I have not seen one around. Normally what they have is the toolkit of how to report a person missing. I'm not on the task force. I'm just a volunteer listening in as well. And then I'm just sharing what I do on my platform. And this is where I go to help share information and also do my own research and hearing victim stories, gathering information, but of course, very mindful of what I do share and post on social media because information is very sensitive, important of the
Yes.
privacy.
Yep.
So I do respect that. And we do respect that here in this page as well, which I'm starting to learn more about being involved with this. So just having you here would be very appreciative if you're available to, because this is every Tuesday. And this is something we got to collaborate as right here as Indigenous community, because our presence is not known at the Capitol. It is not known up in higher places where, at times there's only one or two natives in the room, me and another person. So I just want to say thank you and just keep pushing forward as where you're going. I get to see you at the Capitol soon here in Arizona as well.
That would be cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And wherever you're located, just definitely when you do come to Arizona, make a trip to Window Rock, make a trip down to Southern Arizona. I would be more than happy to introduce you, tour you around a couple places here in Southern Arizona where we do want to make, solutions and bring just a community together to collaborate. Like you said, we have lots of resources. We do have a lot of networking. It's just now collaborating and getting out. I voice this a lot is we're not here to compete. We're not here to, take over other people's attention. We're trying to keep it strictly, specifically on the solutions of getting our relatives safely home before and after care. So thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Somebody asked a question of what's the cutoff age, and it is 18, up to 18. So minors, they have to be minors to come through the NITMIC system. But once you're in the system, you're in the system. So if a missing child happens when they are a minor, then we continue to service the search and the support and the families long after they become adults. So we don't drop them when they become adults. So let's see. Also, I just dropped my phone number, my cell, and then both of my emails in the chat. Um, I see the question about who is the Team Adam consultants in Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. I will find out. I think I was going to be joined by one of my colleagues at NITMIC who knows that information. She
I'm,
interfaces with, but I don't
I'm
see
here,
her.
Aaron.
Oh,
I'm here.
Brenda, there you
Hi.
are.
Hi. Yeah, I can answer that. Hi, everybody. I'm Brenda Galarza, and I work directly with Erin on our tribal and indigenous outreach. And I also work on the Team Adam program here at the National Center. In regards to, just to go back to the age, we do actually, within the last couple years, we do go up to the age of 20. It is our missing young adults. And unfortunately, that does have to have law enforcement involvement, and they need to request our assistance. But we do and will go up to the age of 20. And well, I would say 19. So the day that they hit 20,
Oh,
we're unfortunately unable to assist any longer. When it comes to our Team Adam consultants, we have about 150 around the United States. And just like Dr. Payment had mentioned, they are mostly retired law enforcement, but we also have other subject matter experts as well that assist on long-term cases and critical cases. And their specialties can range from search and rescue to forensic odontology, forensic anthropology. If you can think about a resource that would be applied to a missing child case, we have developed those resources over the years. We've been in existence over 40 years. So through all of the cases that we have assisted with, we have resources for so many of the different types of cases that are out there. So in regards to our Team Adam consultants, the best way is to either reach out to Dr. Payment or myself, and I will drop my information in there as well. The family can request resources from us here at the National Center, so it doesn't necessarily always have to come from law enforcement. The only prerequisite that we do have is we do have to have an intake here at the National Center for our resources to be applied. So a family, as long as they have reported to law enforcement, they are more than welcome to call our 1-800 number, which I will drop in the chat as well, and reach out to us to start those services.
awesome. And Tatiana, you have a PDF copy of the PowerPoint. If you could share that with your everybody that's on the call, that would be great.
For sure, I'll make sure to share that after this meeting. We usually send out our notes to everybody. But let me just go down the line here. We did have Amanda who raised her hand to speak. Amanda, did you get your question answered?
Yes, thank you so much. I am actually putting together a healing tour with our documentary film, She Cried That Day,
Oh.
and heading to a few of the communities that have been hit the hardest by this crisis, and would love to be in contact to possibly have you join our kind of programming in each community that we visit. When you're working with tribal communities, and maybe you answered this, do you have to have some kind of contract or anything with the tribal government in order
Oh,
to work with families, or no, it can just be um,
that's a good question.
started by a
That's a
family?
sensitive question. Um, I would say that and Brenda, correct me, under the law, the law enforcement and the family have a direct connect with NITMIC. But our program was established, the Tribal Nation Fellows, because we also respect that tribes are sovereign nations, and where it's appropriate, we do want to be engaged with the respective tribe. Um, we have done and assisted with some family members of tribal nations that didn't know how to engage the resources. So we have made those connects on their behalf, but that's always a sensitive approach. So we find out the information and we share it directly back with the parent, especially like if they need ongoing behavioral health supports or therapy. We'll help with that. We do have our own behavioral health team, but we also know that if we can coordinate with the respective tribe to get those services back home, we also know people live away from home or live away from the reservation, so that represents challenges. But so so I think that the formal response is that the connection between the parent or law enforcement's directly with NITMIC, but we respect the relationship with the tribal nation. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
All right, going down the line again, we did have Andrea with her hand raised. Andrea, did you want to ask her question?
Good morning. They just went over it. My question was regarding who are the Team Adam consultants and how do we get a hold of them? Is it by law enforcement or if family needs to make that request? But Brenda answered that question. And thank you, Mr. Payment, for your presentation. Very informational.
Thank you.
And yeah, we do currently have a TCRP in the works right now. We are currently working with Kevin Mariano and Mary Big Eagle and Julian on that. We're currently in the planning phase. After that will be an on-site training. We're just in the middle of confirming dates. So that is currently in the works right now.
Awesome. If you can share with them a link, and if they'd like a copy of our plan and our investigative checklist, we'll supply that too.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gary, I responded to your separate message, and if it fits my calendar, absolutely.
Sure.
All right, so I do see Gina with her hand raised. Gina, go ahead.
Hi, Erin. This is Gina from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Hi, thank you for coming.
Yeah, we met before.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, yes, Navajo Nation already submitted their TCRP back in 2022.
Oh,
So the work on the TCRP is actually revision,
oh,
updating, pulling it up some more. So I just want to let you know that that work is still, it happened and then it's ongoing.
yeah.
Just
Yeah,
FYI.
so one thing that we know we have to do, because we did ours in 2021, but we also know that like we had a conference last fall and local law enforcement initially didn't show up. So we called around the the break time at 10 a.m. and said, okay, where are you guys? The local city and the county and state police. And so we got them there. We said, we're going to have a really good whitefish lunch, right? So traditional lunch. So they came. But the one thing I know that we need to do is we need to do tabletop exercises now. And we didn't do that before. We had our initial training, we had everybody there, initial training, but then we said we would do the follow-up with training tabletop exercises. Because what you really want is you want to get through any barriers with local law enforcement. Everybody's on the same team when a child is missing, and you want it to become second nature. So if you can do tabletop exercises, it actually refreshes like, oh, wait a minute, that's what we said we would do. Let's try that. So yeah. Well, good. I want to be adopted by the Navajo Nation.
Maybe we can make that happen. Well, so
I
we
don't know
do,
the language though. I have to learn. I know Yate.
you gotta really have that tongue twister a little bit too. You say one wrong thing, you're saying a whole different phrase here.
That's right. We got some words like that too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So we do have Crystal Yazzie who raised her hand. Go ahead, Crystal.
Hi, hello everybody. Got Dave Bennett. Good morning. My name is Crystal Yazzie, and I am a survivor of a brutal kidnapping and beating in New Mexico. I did fight to get justice and to be heard, and then I went into hiding. And what I mean by that is I was the one who was embarrassed. I was the one who was ashamed, but I got through that. And I'm only emotional because I came out of hiding for our children. And Emily Pike really bothered me, and Ashlyn, Mike as well, and then recently Molly. And so I came out of hiding because I didn't want the abuse and vicious attacks upon our children.
Yeah.
And so I came out of hiding, and I just been thinking of preventative solutions, and what I've been thinking since Molly is you know, I always remember going to school and having drug-free week, in partnership with the police departments. So I was wondering, how can we go about requesting to collaborate with the sheriff's department or the police department on doing a stranger danger sort of, maybe some sort of, I don't know how they get coloring books or like, something to engage with children, to prevent children, educating children on a children's level of stranger danger. And
Yeah.
how do we, get the process of requesting that? I know that, it's easier said than done, but how could we go about collaborating that, especially in the rural areas, to educate our children on a friendly level with the police department to also establish that relationship with the police, that safety, and also help parents to be able to also educate their children. If a parent permission slip needs to be signed to give authorization to present this, because it is a sensitive subject, we do not want to cause fear, amongst our children, but we also want to make sure that we give them the necessary tools from the safety partnership with the police department and the teachers and the staff to be able to give our children, a little education of stranger danger. You don't go, and maybe that can possibly decrease our vulnerable children going to people, because every parenting is different, and that's not to criticize any parents'
Yeah.
techniques,
Yeah.
but that is just to ensure the safety of our children. Because when we lose one child, we lose one sister, we lose one brother, it affects the whole nation, whether there are sisters in Canada, whether there are sisters in Hawaii, whether there are sisters, in Brazil. Our sisters and our brothers are being taken from us, and it just really bothers me. But
Yeah.
I commend each and every one of the agencies that are here. Amber Crotty, she really helped me come out, when I'm able to speak without crying. But today I'm just thinking of our children and our babies. It's bad enough that our sisters and brothers get taken, but just solutions and what can we do to protect our children. So that's pretty much all I have for today. And thank you so much for your time and everybody. But I just wanted to know if that could be something that we could suggest, or, maybe a recommendation, or how can we do that as far as collaborating with police officers on maybe a stranger danger campaign or some sort of thing for children. So that's all that I had today. Thank you again.
So, Crystal, I have a little sister named Crystal. And so I want to share that, first of all, I'm really sorry for your trauma and your ordeal. And I really, really appreciate your strength in overcoming that and wanting to protect other young people for other victims. In my Anishinaabe, and there's a lot of commonalities across our tribal nations. We have a teaching called Gawindiminda, which is we're all related, and every person in our nation is valuable. There are no throwaways. We are not whole without every single one of us. And so every one of us is important. So to answer your question, is the tribal community response plans are really like an ideal way to connect local law enforcement, so that they're on board. But once that happens, and once your government has reached out to law enforcement and forges that relationship, and doing it ahead of time, doing it ahead of a crisis so that it becomes second nature when they need to come together. But once they do that, we have an abundance of curriculum. Again, it's Net Smarts for older kids and Kid Smarts for younger kids. And it's all beta tested. It's curriculum. I have an education background. It's all age appropriate. But we also know that it's general to the general population. So we invite tribal communities to adapt it to meet their specific needs, and we can help with that. That's one thing. And the other thing is we've met at Unity, and Unity is all excited about adopting like our curriculum and then pushing out our curriculum through partnership. The young people, it's amazing, like your youth councils, the leadership that is emerging from youth councils. And last year when we presented at Unity, they said, they wanted to develop like a peer network and peer supports because they're the first people that will know if somebody's at risk or if somebody's abducted, and engaging them sooner can help us to rescue people. But that curriculum that we have available, we can help push that out. And all we need is an ask, a request. But in order to get the sheriff and state police and the county and the BIA, direct service law enforcement, and then tribal law enforcement to collaborate, the tribal community response plans that have their protocol and reaction when someone goes missing, but then also not waiting till somebody goes missing to adopt that curriculum. So we have all of that available, and we can make it available.
And if I can add, Aaron, also, Crystal, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm very sorry that that you had that situation and went through that painful. But it sounds like this is a healing process for you, and I'm glad you're here. Also, just to add on to what Aaron said, a lot of things we do. One of the other things that Team Adam does, and it's their volunteer hours that they have to put in, is we're an integral part of safety events around the nation too. So many times we get hundreds of requests for us to whether do a presentation or be at a conference, but a lot of them are national night outs or safety events that are held in communities in conjunction with law enforcement, nonprofits, or other organizations. And if we do have a Team Adam person or another representative that is close, we can absolutely support those types of events as well, whether it be a presentation to a group or staffing a booth and handing out our materials to parents and kids. In law enforcement or tribal law enforcement, we can support those as well.
Hey, one thing we both neglected to share, Brenda, is
There's so much, Aaron. There's just so much.
Team Hope.
Yes,
Team
yes.
Hope. And if you could, Crystal, if you can, my contact information's in here. I'd like to talk with you a little bit more about your experience and then connect you with Team Hope. Team Hope is a group of people who are survivors, either the survivors themselves or family members that are part of a self-help group, but we support them. And it's one thing to share and to empathize with somebody who's been through the experience. It's another if you're talking to somebody who's been through it. So that group exists to make sure that we keep hope alive and that they support each other if they've been through the experience, what to look for, what to look out for, when to reach out. And it's just such a loving and a caring group that I'd like to try to connect you with them if you're willing. All right. I think we might be coming to our time. Tatiana, you're in charge.
Yeah, so we do have a few questions from our council delegate who chairs the MMDR task force. So I'm gonna go down the list for these and then
Yes.
we'll do a time check. So the first one is who is identified at Navajo Nation to coordinate with NITMIC? How many Navajo children are in the database or at least Native children? And is NNPD the missing persons unit sharing reported endangered Navajo youth? And do they work with NCIC or do they work with NamUs? And it looks like those are just some of the questions she asked through the chat, through our little texting group. So I just wanted to ask those questions. Thank you.
We can get the from a database of Navajo Nation people who have been reported. We can get that number. And so Brenda helped me with the NCIS and the NamUs. NamUs doesn't currently collect tribal affiliation that I know of. Um, it's a good system, but you have to go looking for the information. Um, and so there isn't like an automatic trigger system where they reach out to the tribal nations when um, um, So, Brenda,
Yeah.
you know way more about NamUs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Erin, you're correct. They do have many of the same cases that we do have here at the National Center. But just like, with us, there's not federal mandates and there's nobody, tribes are not required to report to us. So it's really up to whether if they're in foster care or social under child welfare, for the social worker to report to us, for family members or law enforcement to report to us. And I believe it is pretty much the same with NamUs. We do have a field that has tribal affiliation, but many times either the initial caller doesn't have that information if it's social services, or they skip by it and don't enter the information. We do really try, each one of our cases is assigned to a case manager, and that case manager is doing follow-up with the guardian or law enforcement. So we are trying to gather that information. But many of these kids come and go very quickly, so the reports are closed and then they're reopened.
Yeah.
We're trying our best to do as much as we can to gather the information, but it is an uphill battle, and it's not just Native kids. It's the endangerments that kids have all over the United States. It's a lot of data that we really try to have a robust database, but we're limited by the information that's given to us. We can definitely run the kids from the Navajo Nation though, and get that number out to you for sure. And I forget the other questions. There was a few more in there.
I think you might have answered majority of the questions, but one of them is has the Navajo Nation Police Department shared any reports for endangered Navajo youth with NITMIC, or do you guys work with Navajo Nation Police Department?
That's another thing that I'll have to check into in our database. We have, I think 85,000 active cases. So I don't know all of them, but that is something that we could look up with looking up the numbers as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And
Absolutely.
before we get to D, let me ask a few more questions from the task force. So one of our task force members, Laurel Shepherd, she asked, does NITMIC have a set of recommendations for data collections to establish a baseline? And that was her question.
I would say that one is, I'm contributing as a tribal leader. I think that's a question really for tribes. During the OVW, one of the questions they posed was, given 2005, VAWA authorized a national baseline study, and that did happen, but it's kind of a defunct process, and they abandoned it in 2023. And so as a tribal leader, so take my NIPMC hat off, but as a tribal leader, I did do a presentation of policy recommendations. There's also a list of policy recommendations from from National Congress of American Indians and partner organizations. And I am doing follow up with DOJ's National Institutes of Justice for what a better approach might look like. So rather than another study, um, possibly a census approach, and having tribes be at the center of that data collection. But obviously, any effort to collect data has to have a better um, reporting mechanism that's mandated, which currently is not mandated. And so, when we talk about the possibilities, some will say, well, requiring mandated reporting back to the tribe of jurisdictions and just not possible. It's not doable. But we know that it is because it currently is the process for missing children. Or for not missing children, but for ICWA. If a child's in care, every point has a requirement to notify the tribe of jurisdiction, which means they're supposed to collect the information initially. So, but I, I think I think that wouldn't necessarily be, and Brenda can correct me, policy recommendations from NITMIC. We work within the parameters of what the law currently is. But there's a groundswell of tribal leaders across the nation that are making policy recommendations as they tackle the MMIP crisis. The other thing is for all of the good resources that we do have available for 18 or under 18 for children, those types of resources are just not readily available for adults. And one thing that's struck me since I've been working with NITMIC is, you know, well, this makes so much sense. Why aren't we doing this for adults too? But that's a much bigger sort of challenge. I don't know if that helped.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate the response. And I just have a question too. The Navajo Nation, the MMDR task force, we are working with Navajo Technical University to create our own MMDR database. And for our children, what does NITMIC need from Navajo Nation to enable a two-way data sharing system? How can we make sure that the cases that we have on Navajo Nation also reflect the cases that you guys have? Because for last time I was told by Navajo PD was that they are not tracking Navajos off the reservation. So that's kind of the concern I have when it comes to our children who live off the reservation. How can we
Yeah.
ensure that our cases and your cases are both similar, or at least we have the same information?
Yeah, that's a big one. I think it makes sense and there's a logical role to for tribal nations to connect with NamUs so that they can extract the information that is collected that might be populated in NamUs with respect to tribal nation. Um, and then also the way the existing law is established, it's law enforcement and family directly to report missing children. And there isn't like a formal role for tribal nations yet. So that's why our program exists, is to help kind of create the connection and the glue there. But I think, you know, I don't know the answer. I would think that that's a conversation Brenda and I can bring back to see if there's a way to formalize that data sharing. And you know, it's always, I think, going to funnel back through the parent or the law enforcement because you have law enforcement and we have the same challenges back home. We have only 1/3 of our people that live in our in our service area. So, you know, service area is determined by IHS, purchase of referred service, and then the BIA service area. And then our reservation's even smaller than that. We only have, for our tribe, we're the largest east of the Mississippi. We only have 600 homes on the reservation because we got recognized later, much later. And so we get funding from the federal government to provide law enforcement coverage for the reservation and on or near the reservation. But if they're away from our jurisdiction, and this is an Oliphant issue, right? If they're away from our jurisdiction, then we have to collaborate with outside law enforcement with them as citizens of the territory where they live. So they might be city, state, county. So that's all the more the reason to have these partnerships established with local law enforcement to help with the reach out to where our people actually live. So that's a really big challenge.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate the response. So we have enough time for one more question. The time is now 9:43. Dee, go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Hi, thank you, sister. Yeah, my quick question was, do you happen to have a toolkit that we could look at or we could be able to share as well? I don't know if I heard you share it. And then
For Tribal Community Response Plan MMIP, I do. For NITMIC, we have like our website and it's a lot to pour through, but maybe Brenda can share if we have something distilled in a toolkit.
okay.
So I guess it depends on what you're referring to in a toolkit, but we do have all of our Net Smarts and Kid Smarts curriculum up on our website. We really try to make it as easy as possible for these programs to be implemented. So you can go on, and whether you're a parent or a teacher or a service provider, you can go on and download all of the PowerPoints, all of the materials, anything. I can also send you materials from here that you could hand out so you don't have to print them out. So please, yeah, I put the web address in the chat. So, but it's missingkids.org, and all of the resources are available on there. And if you have any problem finding anything, there is a lot of information on there. But if you do have any problem finding anything, just let Erin or myself know.
And
Okay,
just
perfect.
to underscore the point of contact uh, inventory that we're doing, which again is that QR code, and you'll get a copy of it, is we know there is an abundance of information, and sometimes you won't look to that information until you need it. And then when you need it, it's kind of a couple steps too late, right? But that's why we're doing the point of contact inventory, because in addition to who should we reach out to, and then we're going to develop webinar training for law enforcement, for victim services, MMIP, for child welfare, for education. But we're also asking a couple of basic questions about what would be the most helpful information. And throughout all of that, once we get all of our data, we're only 1/4 of the way through collecting those points of contact. But once we get all of that, we got a sense of what people are looking for. And what would be most helpful is we could then package that information into something like a toolkit, so that it's more readily available, so that you don't have to go dig for the information. Because the positive negative is we have lots and lots of resources. The challenge with that is filtering through all of it to get what you need. So, and it's pretty easy to navigate through our systems, but it gets overwhelming. It's like doing research. You know, once you uncover
It
one
is.
rock, then you got more to do and more to do.
It is definitely, that's what I tell a lot of my family and friends is, when they see me on my phone, they probably think I'm scrolling. I'm like, you have no idea how much research I do
Yeah.
just on one individual, on one person, of especially with 3 cases here in Arizona that has waking us up as a nation to take the MMIR numbers, more serious today, where I'm very grateful the attention is getting there where we need it. But also now is that we do have tons of solutions, right here. One barrier I can say, following this, I've been, actively involved with human trafficking for over 18 years now, and now 10 years with missing children. With this being said, is getting the Amber Alert, the missing person alerts out. Every state pretty much nearly has some type of missing person alert. And, it's basically saying, a turquoise alert. California has a red alert. Here in Arizona, we have, these alerts. We are facing that barrier of getting the information out because, let's do let's do role play now. Let's do role play where when we hear an alert on our phone, how do all of you feel instantly? We immediately feel startled.
Yeah.
Okay, we get
Overwhelmed.
startled.
Yeah.
And we think, okay, we got to stop here. It's going to be a weather alert or an emergency alert. We better listen. Bam, we read and it's a missing person. Oh my gosh. Well, guess what? The perpetrator, the kidnapper, is going to get the alert too. They're going to know, just like us, this person is being looked for. This child is being looked for. That's what we need to really focus on today. We have this system. We've seen it successfully work. I've seen it successfully work. I know in my youth years, in my teenage years, when it first started developing, when we first started having phones in our hand, how it would work. Now today it's like we're stuck in this loophole of fingers. It's this and this, the delay, the restrictions, the requirements. Now, when we're getting at the child or a person missing, you got to be mindful what you say.
Yeah.
Because if you say something an hour off, guess what? It's not considered. And that's sad because at this point, this is urgency.
Yeah.
Every second counts. But when we go to a privileged citizen here in America, they get the attention. We've seen that, or we saw it 2 white American citizens get shot the way 10 other people were shot since New Year's. But the
Yeah.
ones that get shot. Same thing with a lady here in Southern Arizona. A missing elder lady went missing. They're looking at Ring doorbell cameras. They're pulling, street cameras. But with all of our Native missing kids from New Year's to now, we ain't getting nothing. Down to Emily Pike, down to Molly, everything went silent. And they say, respect culture, respect this. Well, when these people went missing, their family didn't think of any of that. You think of urgency. I know that when something goes forward of an emergency, it's urgency. You need help. And we got to put all of that aside.
Yeah.
It's when are we becoming cultural and spiritual and an emergency stance? I don't know about you, but life and air is one of the most precious elements that we need as humans, as indigenous people, to respect it, that our relative needs that. So with this being said, access to the stars and the sun is freedom, having access to those 24 hours. That is part of what we deal with in this epidemic of people going missing. We have solutions here now. It's the alert. What are we going to do? These walks work. I've heard from stories in Montana where they said that a group of friends that knew about a person that went missing, they all got drunk, felt guilty because they saw flyers again. They saw people walking. They saw community. Once they got intoxicated, they started talking. They started telling on each other. The guiltiness comes in. So that's why it's like we don't stay silent. We continue to share their stories, continue to be out there, continue to be the voice, especially when you're a survivor now. You go from a victim to survivor, and that's where I'm at today. I voiced it before what pushed me here today to continue my volunteer services, that I'm 100% not paid in any profit, any organization, running on my own with this to get solutions, because I know how it is to not be heard, to not being seen, and also to be in that crisis situation. That's here. We're a room full of team people right now, full of solutions. All we're asking, I would ask right here is, for more support in areas that we are lacking the most, the alert. And then secondly is the collaboration. I don't know where the Navajo Nation missing person update, is that person here today as well? This is stuff that, that they could use to help build the platform that they use on social media. So I don't ever see or hear anything about it except the core members that they have on this committee. So, I just wanted to call that out as well. Would really appreciate it. And Mr. Anderson too, as well, for being Navajo Nation Department, to be in these meetings, to hear solutions as well for this, that obviously won't need money, but his time. So thank you guys for your time, and I look forward to, working more. Thank you so much for the information. This is an answered prayer. So thank you for your team, your nation, for sharing with us. I look forward to working with you guys more and hopefully see you guys in person. Thank you, Yate. You guys have a great day. Bye.
Awesome. Yeah, and so just real quick, I know we got to close up, is the policy recommendation. One of the big policy recommendations of NCAI and partner orgs is to have a national campaign to recognize that our people need equal time when they go missing, so that we don't overlook our people. But one of the equalizers that NITMIC can play, when a child goes missing, is we will help um, uh, coordinate media coverage, especially if the local community doesn't have the sophistication with the media. We will help draft media alerts and engage, whatever the individual case needs. We can serve as an equalizer to try to transcend, kind of that typical, lack of attention or alert. So, and we're dedicated to doing that and working collaboratively to get the word out.
Thank you for that, Aaron. Before we end the call, it is now 9:53. Delegate Cardi just had one more question regarding our one of our most recent children's cases with Molly, who went missing in the coal mine Tuba City area. Was the Adam team deployed on Navajo Nation? Did Navajo Nation PD or anyone in the public safety realm make that request to NITMIC?
I don't know of that on our end, so I don't know if somebody on your end knows. Brenda and I can try to find out, but I don't know that off the top of my head. And this is
Okay.
really current, so I know that part.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll probably reach out to Navajo PD and ask them a few of these questions because I know it's important that all of our systems are working together, especially when it comes to protecting our children here on the Navajo Nation and off the Navajo Nation. So just a time check, it is now 9:54 a.m. We were scheduled till 10 o'clock today. So let me just do a quick one more round. Do we have anyone else who'd like to ask questions before we end the call? Okay, so I don't see any hand raised, but we do have Chief of Police Ronald Silversmith and Deputy Chief Leonard Williams. So let me just ask him that quick question. Chief, by chance, do you know if Navajo Nation reached out to NITMIC to request for the Adam team to come out during the during that case with Molly?
No.
Um, so let me just mute Laurel. So let's see. Deputy, do you have an answer to that by chance?
Hey, good morning, everybody. As far as that, the answer is no.
I'm sorry, can you
Hello?
repeat that?
No, there's no contact with the program.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the response, Deputy. Really do appreciate it.
I do have Lieutenant Roland Dasher here with me in my office. He is the missing person. He oversees the missing person, and he's also the liaison between us and ICE as well.
After the call, maybe a little bit later today, because I'm got to go back to council, but Deputy Williams, if you want to reach out to us, we can see if we can assist you in making that initial connection.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
glad to help.
I'll make sure to forward Aaron's information to the police department's leadership just to make sure we make that contact. So thank you again for responding. So another time check is now 9:57. And we do have one announcement from Gary Mike. Gary, go ahead and go ahead, you have the floor.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. But Dr. Payman, thank you for your presentation. I would like to see if we can have you present at this year's Ashland's Memorial Run being
Oh,
held with the Shiprock Marathon in Shiprock, New Mexico.
oh, cool.
I'll be sending out more information on an official invite to you and others that you may request to have there. What I'm looking for at this event is to keep our children safe by providing the people there in helping them find those that are missing and giving them information about how to find those people. This is what we lacked when my daughter went missing almost 10 years ago, this coming May. And since then, we've made so much stride in finding children and keeping them safe. But we still need more. We still need more information to be disseminated among our people and across the nation. And I believe this event will be one of those events that will gather a lot of people uh, and being provided them with information on how to find missing children. I also would like to invite everyone to be there to walk with us as we remember those who are missing, who hasn't been found yet, so that we can get that information out there too. I work with NICMEC since the beginning of this tragedy, and they've been there for us for nearly 10 years now. And their support has given us that ability to, provide more information about how we can keep our children safe. And your presence there would be greatly appreciated, as well as those that you would like to recommend to be there. And I've posted a link to that registration if the people want to walk with us. This is a new avenue that we started last year. Before then, the last memorial run for Ashland was held in 2019. That's when the pandemic started. The COVID-19 pandemic left us in limbo for about 5 years until the tragedies started coming up upon us again. And I knew I had to, get out there and, give our people the necessary information to, keep our children safe. And this is what this event is all about. So I've left a link on where to register for the Ashland Mike Mile, and hope to see you all there. If you have any
Awesome. Brenda, get your
questions,
running shoes ready.
I can do that.
right
No,
on.
and we're very happy to have supported this event in the past with our Team Adam consultant that's out there, Joe Kissel. So I know,
Yes.
Gary, that you've talked to him multiple times, and yeah, anything if he's available, he will definitely be there. And I'll follow up with you to get you to submit the request like you do every year, and we'll definitely try to be there if we can. Absolutely.
And you hit
Well, thank you so
you hit
much.
the right nerve, Gary, because I'm a runner. I have never
Yeah.
done a marathon. I've done really well in half marathons, but I'm recovering from an illness right now. But I should be able to do maybe 5 or 10K of it. We'll see.
Good.
I'll meet you at the inn.
Yep. All right. Thank you. And I do have to take my child to school. He's chomping at the bit.
All right. Thank you so much, people.
Yeah.
Keep
Thank you for
safe.
inviting us, and let's keep in contact.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Brenda, for joining us on the line here, for sharing all this great information. It's always good to make contact with, with people like you. So thank you, everyone, for joining the call today. We are going to end here at 10:02 a.m. Thank you for all the task force members for joining us today. Thank you to all of our volunteers, and we'll see you guys next week. Hagone.